Have you ever wondered how our world began? Today we're diving into the awe-inspiring origin story of our planet Earth, a tale that stretches back billions of years. Before we journey into the heart of Earth's birth, don't forget to like this video, share it with fellow seekers of wonder, and immerse yourself in a story older than time itself. In the vast emptiness of space, before there were stars, before galaxies danced across the universe, there was silence. The universe, in its infancy, was a swirling canvas of raw elements and explosive energy. Roughly 13.8 billion years ago, the universe came into being in an incomprehensible burst of energy known as the Big Bang. Time and space were born together in a violent expansion, and from this single point emerged all the matter that would ever exist. Galaxies formed, stars ignited, and deep in one quiet corner of the Milky Way, something extraordinary began to take shape. Around 4.6 billion years ago, a giant molecular cloud, composed mostly of hydrogen and helium, sprinkled with heavier elements from ancient dying stars, drifted in the spiral arm of the Milky Way. This colossal cloud, spanning light years across, was on the verge of collapse. Perhaps the shockwave from a nearby supernova rippled through the dust and gas, disturbing the balance and causing parts of the cloud to contract under their own gravity. This gravitational collapse marked the beginning of something new, something that would eventually become our sun and the planets around it. As gravity pulled the cloud tighter, it spun faster and flattened into a spinning disk of material. In the center, where the density and pressure grew immense, a protostar ignited, a fiery ball of hydrogen undergoing fusion that would one day shine as our sun. Around it, the leftover debris, dust, ice, gas, began a complex cosmic dance. Through collisions, mergers, and the pull of gravity, tiny particles stuck together. Dust grains became pebbles. Pebbles grew into rocks. Rocks collided to form boulders, and boulders merged into larger bodies called planetesimals. These planetesimals were the seeds of planets, spinning and colliding within the solar nebula. Some of them grew massive enough to exert their own gravity, pulling in more material and shaping their destiny. One of these rocky bodies began to stand out, accumulating more mass, stabilizing its orbit, and slowly becoming the third planet from the young sun. This was the embryo of Earth. But the early Earth was not the blue and green haven we know today. It was a hostile, molten sphere of chaos and violence. The heat from accretion, countless collisions with other planetesimals, kept the surface in a liquid state. Radioactive elements within its core generated immense internal heat, while the surface was bombarded by asteroids, comets, and debris from the remnants of the solar system's formation. Earth was still a young planet, and its identity was far from complete. One of the most defining events in Earth's early history occurred not long after its formation. A Mars-sized body, often referred to as Theia, slammed into Earth in a cataclysmic collision. The energy of this impact was so immense that it vaporized much of the outer layers of both planets. Debris from this violent merger was launched into orbit around the Earth, where it eventually coalesced to form the Moon. This impact altered Earth's tilt, reshaped its rotation, and gave birth to the celestial companion that has orbited us ever since. In the aftermath, Earth began to cool. Heavy elements like iron and nickel sank toward the center, forming the planet's core, while lighter silicates rose to form the mantle and crust. This process, known as planetary differentiation, created the layered structure of Earth as we know it today. A solid inner core, a liquid outer core, a viscous mantle, and a brittle crust. This stratification laid the foundation for tectonic activity, magnetic field generation, and the dynamic geology that would shape the planet's future. As the crust solidified, volcanic activity surged. Gigantic volcanoes erupted across the surface, spewing gases into the atmosphere and releasing vast quantities of carbon dioxide, nitrogen, and water vapor. Earth's first atmosphere, composed mainly of hydrogen and helium, had long since escaped into space, stripped away by the solar wind. But this second atmosphere, rich in volcanic gases, began to shroud the planet, trapping heat and setting the stage for climate, weather, and eventually, life. Water, the elixir of life, began to collect on the surface. But where did it come from? Some scientists believe that water was delivered to Earth by icy comets and asteroids bombarding the surface during the late heavy bombardment, a period of intense collisions that lasted hundreds of millions of years. Others argue that water emerged from within the Earth itself, released through volcanic outgassing. Regardless of its source, the accumulation of water led to the formation of oceans, vast primordial seas that covered much of the young planet. The oceans were not tranquil. They boiled under a greenhouse atmosphere, stirred by volcanic eruptions and meteoritic impacts. Lightning danced across the sky, and ultraviolet radiation from the young sun pierced the atmosphere. But within this chaos, the ingredients for life were mixing. Organic molecules, amino acids, nucleotides, simple sugars, began to assemble in Earth's watery depths. These were the building blocks of life, and in the crucible of Earth's early oceans, they began a journey towards something never before seen in the universe. Life, simple, microscopic, and ancient. The first cells likely emerged in deep sea, hydrothermal vents where mineral-rich water poured from the ocean floor, creating gradients in temperature and chemistry. These tiny pockets may have provided the energy and environment needed for the first self-replicating molecules to form. RNA, a molecule capable of storing information and catalyzing reactions, may have been the first to cross the threshold into encased in membranes. These protocells began to evolve. Over millions of years, these primitive cells diversified. Some developed the ability to harness sunlight through photosynthesis, releasing oxygen as a byproduct. This oxygen began to accumulate in the oceans and atmosphere, triggering the Great Oxygenation Event around 2.4 billion years ago. For early anaerobic life, oxygen was toxic. It drove many species to extinction, but it also paved the way for more complex aerobic organisms, setting in motion the next great chapter of Earth's evolution. Meanwhile, the Earth itself continued to change. The continents began to take shape, driven by the forces of plate tectonics. Land masses collided, broke apart, and reassembled in a restless cycle that continues to this day. These shifting plates created mountains, basins, and oceans. They recycled carbon and minerals, regulated the planet's temperature, and influenced the course of evolution. The Earth's magnetic field, generated by the movement of molten iron in the outer core, protected the planet from harmful solar radiation and cosmic rays. Without it, the atmosphere might have been stripped away, leaving Earth a barren rock like Mars. Instead, the magnetic field shielded the surface, allowing life to flourish and evolve under its invisible protection. Time marched on. Eons passed. Life became more complex. Multicellular organisms emerged, evolved, and began to dominate the oceans. The Cambrian explosion saw an incredible burst of diversity, as animals with shells, eyes, and limbs appeared in the fossil record. Life spread across the seas and eventually onto land. Plants colonized the continents, followed by insects, amphibians, reptiles, and mammals. The Earth, once a molten wasteland, had become a vibrant, living planet. But all of this, the lush forests, the roaring rivers, the beating hearts of countless creatures, began with dust and fire, with a collapsing cloud and a glowing disk of stardust, with a silent promise in the void of space that something extraordinary could rise from chaos. Earth was born, not in peace, but in violence, and from that turmoil emerged the only known cradle of life in the universe. The story of our planet is not just a scientific narrative. It is a profound reflection of transformation, endurance, and the miraculous unfolding of existence. Earth did not begin as a home. It became one. In the heart of this thriving world, where the legacy of cosmic dust and explosive birth had settled into form and rhythm, the forces that sculpted Earth continued their silent work. Over the span of hundreds of millions of years, the face of the planet shifted and transformed. Land rose from the seas, weathered and wore away, and rose again. The dance of plate tectonics etched patterns into the crust, forging continents and oceans in an ever-changing mosaic of life and land. The great supercontinents rose and fell, beginning with Valbara, followed by Ur, Arctica, and then Rodinia. Each of these massive landmasses was assembled from the fragments of ancient crust, collided into place by tectonic forces that had their roots deep in Earth's mantle. With each collision, mountains surged skyward. With each rift, oceans flooded the gaps. Rodinia, which formed about 1.1 billion years ago, would drift and disassemble over hundreds of millions of years, paving the way for Pannotia and eventually the famous supercontinent Pangaea. Pangaea, the colossal landmass that unified nearly all the Earth's continental plates, existed roughly 335 to 175 million years ago. Its existence was marked by dramatic climatic shifts. The interior of this vast land was arid and dry, while its coastal regions fostered rich marine environments. Life during this time evolved under new constraints. Forests of towering ferns and early conifers spread across the landscape. Amphibians adapted to land, and the first reptiles appeared, laying eggs with tough shells that could survive away from water. While the continents moved slowly, the biosphere was in constant flux. Mass extinctions punctuated Earth's history, like celestial punctuation marks, moments of reset that cleared ecological space for new forms of life to emerge. The most devastating of these, the Permian-Triassic extinction event, occurred around 252 million years ago. It is estimated that over 90% of marine species and 70% of terrestrial species vanished. Volcanic activity in the region known today as Siberia is believed to have released massive amounts of greenhouse gases, leading to runaway climate change, ocean acidification, and ecological collapse. Yet from that destruction, life returned, resilient, diverse, and reimagined. Dinosaurs emerged as dominant terrestrial vertebrates, flourishing for over 160 million years. They roamed lush floodplains, stalked prey through ancient forests, and soared through the skies as feathered flyers. Alongside them, early mammals remained small and nocturnal, surviving in the shadows of giants, waiting for their time. Earth's climate and environment were never static. Driven by factors ranging from orbital changes to volcanic eruptions, the global temperature fluctuated over millennia. Ice ages came and went. Glaciers advanced and retreated, carving valleys and reshaping continents. Sea levels rose and fell. Life adapted, evolved, or vanished. Coral reefs grew in tropical shallows. Insects buzzed through forests of cycads and ginkgos, and the Earth turned on, unwavering in its cosmic rhythm. Around 66 million years ago, another catastrophic event reshaped the biosphere. A massive asteroid, 6 miles wide, hurtled toward Earth and struck the Yucatan Peninsula with unimaginable force. The impact unleashed global wildfires, a blanket of ash and sulfur dioxide, and plunged the Earth into darkness. Photosynthesis ceased, food chains collapsed, and nearly 75% of all species, including the non-avian dinosaurs, went extinct. The impact crater, Chicxulub, remains buried beneath the surface as a scar of that apocalyptic day. But once more, life persisted. With the demise of the dinosaurs, mammals began to radiate into new niches. They grew in size, diversity, and intelligence. From small, shrew-like ancestors emerged a lineage that would give rise to primates, and eventually, the genus Homo. The forests where our ancestors lived echoed with new calls. The rustling of upright movement, and the spark of something never before seen in any creature, a mind capable not only of survival, but of wonder. But even as this new chapter neared, Earth continued to evolve beneath the surface. The magnetic field, ever generated by the churning of molten iron in the outer core, occasionally reversed its polarity in geomagnetic flips that left traces in ancient rocks. The continents drifted toward their modern configuration, and oceans redefined the boundaries between them. Mountains rose anew, such as the Himalayas, formed from the collision of the Indian and Eurasian plates, and rivers like the Nile and Amazon carved their way across landscapes, shaping ecosystems as they went. Weather patterns danced with the architecture of continents and the breathing of the seas. Ocean currents circled the globe, ferrying heat and nutrients, regulating climate and life. The carbon cycle, a complex interplay between atmosphere, lithosphere, hydrosphere, and biosphere, kept Earth's temperature within habitable bounds. Life, in turn, affected the geology. Microbes created stromatolites that altered the chemistry of shallow seas. Forests locked carbon beneath the soil, and coral reefs constructed underwater cathedrals of biodiversity. Even as species emerged and disappeared, the underlying mechanics of the planet endured. Earth was not a static world. It was alive in its own geophysical way. Volcanic islands rose from seafloor ridges. Earthquakes sent tremors through the ground, revealing the tension between continental plates. Deep within subduction zones, ancient seafloor was consumed, melted, and reborn in plumes of magma. The sky above was no less dynamic. From the earliest days of its second atmosphere, Earth had evolved an environment that, though once deadly, grew increasingly hospitable. As photosynthetic organisms multiplied, oxygen transformed the atmosphere, allowing for the formation of the ozone layer, a protective shield against harmful ultraviolet radiation. This allowed life to expand onto land with less fear of mutation or death from the sun's rays. The moon, Earth's constant companion, played a subtle yet profound role in stabilizing the planet's axial tilt, preventing extreme climate shifts that might have otherwise destabilized evolutionary progress. Its gravitational pull gave rise to tides, which stirred coastal ecosystems and may have even influenced early life's transition from sea to land. The moon, born from fire, became a gentle regulator of Earth's rhythm. And beyond Earth, the solar system played its role. The giant planet Jupiter, with its immense gravity, acted as a cosmic shield, attracting and deflecting many potential cometary and asteroidal threats. The balance of mass and motion among the planets allowed Earth to orbit in a stable path, within the so-called habitable zone, where liquid water could persist and life could thrive. All of this, the deep-time orchestration of space, rock, water, and air, created the stage upon which life could evolve in countless forms. The fossil record captured this legacy in stone: the shells of ancient trilobites, the bones of forgotten reptiles, the teeth of saber-toothed cats. Each fragment a whisper of what came before, each layer of sediment a page in Earth's epic saga. Even extinction, the end of a lineage, was not an end to the story. It cleared the way for something new. The death of one world often became the birth of another. Earth, in its boundless patience, carried on. What makes this tale extraordinary is not simply the vastness of time or the grandeur of the events. It is the recognition that the very ground beneath our feet was forged from cosmic fire, cooled through ice ages, shaped by oceans and winds, and seeded with life by forces still not fully understood. Every mountain, every grain of sand, every drop of water is a chapter in this silent, ongoing miracle. Earth is not merely a backdrop to life. It is a dynamic participant, a partner in the evolutionary play. It breathes, quakes, erupts, and renews. It fosters, shelters, challenges, and rewards. It is in every sense a living planet. And though we often look to the stars in wonder, it is here, on this speck of rock and water, that the greatest story ever told has unfolded. A story still being written with every sunrise, every storm, and every heartbeat. As the wheel of time continued to turn, Earth nurtured the evolution of life with a tenacity unmatched, allowing complexity to flourish in the quiet corners of forests, in the deep silence of the ocean floor, and upon the wind-swept plains of expanding continents. From the ancient roots of eukaryotic cells to the towering forests of the Carboniferous, life spun an intricate web that bound Earth's geology, climate, and atmosphere together into a single breathing system. This biosphere, fragile and resilient, held within it the power to alter the course of the entire planet. Among the great chapters of this living Earth, the emergence of primates marked a shift, not merely in biology, but in the potential for consciousness, reflection, and memory. Tens of millions of years ago, in the canopies of tropical forests, small, agile creatures began to leap between branches. These early primates, with forward-facing eyes and grasping hands, were shaped by a world that demanded intelligence, coordination, and social bonds. Natural selection favored the curious, the adaptable, and the communicative. From this lineage, a branch split and wandered down from the trees. Hominins, our distant ancestors, began to walk upright, their spines curving to support a bipedal gait, their hands freed for tools and expression. They foraged and hunted, navigating the shifting savannas and forests of Africa. Climate fluctuations tested them, and from each test emerged a stronger mind, a more cooperative spirit, a keener sense of self. Fire, once a terror, became an ally. Stones became tools. The stars above became guides. Around 2.5 million years ago, the first members of the genus Homo appeared. Homo habilis, the handyman, carved stone flakes and likely passed knowledge through generations. This was not mere instinct, it was culture. And culture, once born, grew with a force of its own. With each passing millennium, the brain expanded. With each generation, ideas accumulated. Migration spread humans across continents, from the grasslands of Africa to the icebound steppes of Eurasia. Earth watched as these creatures built fires in caves, painted animals on stone walls, and buried their dead with tokens of meaning. The biosphere had given rise to a being capable of shaping it in return. Homo sapiens, emerging roughly 300,000 years ago, stood at the confluence of biology and possibility. With language came myth, with memory came history, and with imagination came dreams that reached far beyond the horizon. Yet Earth remained the ultimate teacher. Ice ages tested humanity's will, pushing people toward invention. Glacial walls advanced and retreated, sculpting valleys and leaving behind vast deposits of till and sand. Oceans fell and rose, exposing land bridges that carried early humans to new lands. The Bering Land Bridge allowed migration into the Americas. Island hopping brought people to the distant shores of Oceania. The planet's surface, constantly reshaped by wind, water, and time, became a canvas for human adaptation. Deserts bloomed with knowledge of survival. Mountains echoed with songs and stories. Rivers guided civilizations. The Nile, the Indus, the Tigris, the Yellow River, all cradled early cities where humans began to domesticate plants and animals, forming the first agricultural societies. With farming came surplus, with surplus came trade, and with trade came the foundations of complex culture. But Earth, ever dynamic, continued its own rhythms. Volcanoes erupted, burying cities beneath ash and preserving moments in stone. Earthquakes shattered empires. Floods and droughts tested rulers and peoples. Even as humans carved into the earth with plows and blades, the planet responded with quiet reminders of its ancient strength. It was not a passive world. It was a force, living beneath the surface, shaping all that stood upon it. In the sweep of geologic time, the rise of civilization is a blink, a flash of firelight beneath the stars. Yet within that blink, humans transformed the earth with unprecedented speed. Forests fell to fields. Mountains were mined for metal. Rivers were diverted. The balance between life and environment began to tilt. Urban centers rose, machines rumbled, and Earth's crust was pierced for oil, gas, and ore. And still, the legacy of Earth's birth remained etched in every rock. The very metals used to forge tools and cities were the remnants of ancient stars. The gold in rings and crowns, the iron in blood, the calcium in bones, all born in supernovae, scattered across space, gathered into this spinning planet. Earth is a fusion of fire and time, of cosmic inheritance and planetary evolution. Beneath the feet of modern civilization lies a hidden chronicle, strata layered with fossils, each a testament to extinction and survival. In the Grand Canyon, Ancient seabeds lie thousands of feet above sea level, revealing that oceans once covered the land. In polar ice cores, tiny bubbles of atmosphere speak of climates past, of CO2 levels that rose and fell, of temperatures that warmed and cooled. Earth tells its story not in words, but in the language of stone and ice, in the rhythm of fault lines and the spiral of shells. Life, ever intertwined with the geology of the world, continued its delicate dance. Coral reefs, the rainforests of the sea, shimmered with biodiversity and sensitivity. The Amazon, the lungs of the planet, pulsed with rain and life, holding within its vastness thousands of species yet to be discovered. Earth's ecosystems formed vast networks, where the extinction of one species rippled through the food web, and where the health of soil determined the prosperity of nations. The human footprint grew, and with it came questions of stewardship, of balance, of destiny. Earth had given its children fire, shelter, sustenance, and the sky. What would humanity return? The atmosphere began to shift once more, not through volcanic exhalations or asteroid impacts, but through industry. Greenhouse gases accumulated, oceans acidified, glaciers receded. The Holocene epoch, a brief warm interlude following the last ice age, was giving way to a new epoch, one shaped not by nature alone, but by humanity's hand. And yet, even in this moment of reflection, Earth offered signs of resilience. Forests regrew where civilizations had fallen, rivers reclaimed their beds, animals returned to landscapes abandoned by humans. The Earth, always in motion, possessed an ancient wisdom, a capacity to endure and renew. But time, that silent witness to every epoch, pressed forward. Through all of this, the billions of years of churning stone, flowing water, drifting continents, and teeming life, Earth had remained. In balance, a blue gem in the black sea of space, held by gravity, warmed by the sun, shielded by magnetic fields and a veil of air. It carried life with it on a journey through the cosmos. The same forces that shaped the mountains also shaped the marrow of every living creature. The same elements that made volcanoes breathe made lungs rise and fall. There is a strange and beautiful truth in this, that we are not separate from the earth but of it. Our bones are mountains in miniature. Our blood is the echo of ancient seas. Our breath is the whisper of ancient forests. To know the earth is not merely to study its rocks or measure its temperatures. It is to understand that our very being is written in its geology. And this understanding does not end with the past. The story of Earth's formation is not a closed book, but a living manuscript, still being written with every tectonic shift, every seed that sprouts, every storm that swells. We live in a moment suspended between what has been and what may come, and Earth, the ancient mother of mountains and microbes, continues her silent revolution, bearing us all. In the unceasing passage of time, Earth continued to evolve, not only as a planet shaped by physical forces, but as a sanctuary sculpted by the silent alchemy of life itself. The surface, ever shifting, bore the imprints of countless ages, scars left by glaciers, hollows carved by rivers, ridges thrust skyward by the deep breath of tectonic motion. Yet beneath this geologic canvas, a more subtle transformation was underway, one that unfolded in the quiet cells of living organisms, in the whispers of adaptation and mutation, and in the ceaseless striving of life to flourish. Biodiversity became Earth's symphony, composed over hundreds of millions of years. After each extinction, new forms emerged, more complex, more refined, more attuned to their environments. Mammals, having survived the extinction that ended the reign of the dinosaurs, diversified into every ecological niche. Some returned to the seas as whales and dolphins. Others took to the skies as bats. Still others roamed the plains, burrowed underground, or climbed the trees. In their veins flowed the memory of deep time, and in their eyes glimmered the faint reflection of stars, long dead. Among these myriad creatures, one species began to transform not only itself, but the entire planet. Homo sapiens, guided by intelligence and driven by curiosity, embarked upon a path that no other organism had taken. With hands capable of craft and minds capable of vision, humans began to build more than nests or burrows. They began to shape the land itself. Fields replaced forests, walls divided territory, and cities grew from the meeting points of trade and trust. As societies expanded, they turned to the sky for knowledge, tracking the stars, measuring the passage of seasons, and aligning their monuments with the solstices. The earth, they discovered, moved with purpose, a celestial clock whose cycles dictated the rhythms of planting and harvest. From the banks of the Euphrates to the valleys of the Yangtze, from the highlands of the Andes to the deltas of the Nile, civilizations emerged in harmony with the pulse of the planet. But the earth did not always offer peace. Droughts turned fertile soil to dust. Earthquakes shattered stone temples, floods erased cities. Volcanic eruptions blotted out the sun. These were reminders, powerful and humbling, that humanity, though capable of great wonders, remained a guest upon a volatile and living world. And yet, the response was not retreat, but resilience. Technologies were born not only from ambition, but from necessity. Irrigation tamed rivers. Architecture resisted tremors. Philosophy and art gave meaning to suffering and survival. From the ancient empires of Mesopotamia and Egypt, to the philosophical heights of Greece and the scholarly legacies of China and India, human culture grew in complexity, echoing the intricate web of life that Earth had spun for eons. Languages evolved and spread like biological species. Ideas traveled the Silk Roads, crossed oceans, and redefined entire peoples. In all of this, the Earth remained the stage, the source, and the silent witness. Beneath the cities and fields, the planet continued its own story. The core spun with molten purpose. The mantle convulsed in slow-motion churn. The crust cracked and healed. Even as humans erected towers of steel and glass, the ancient forces of the Earth moved undeterred, shaping the very ground on which their civilizations stood. With the passing of centuries, humanity learned to peer deeper into the atom, the genome, and the cosmos. The Industrial Revolution marked a turning point. Fueled by coal and driven by innovation, machines transformed landscapes. Mines plunged into Earth's crust. Factories belched soot into the sky, and railways stitched continents together. The human footprint deepened. No longer simply a creature of adaptation, humanity became a planetary force. In the layers of sediment, yet to settle, future geologists will find the signs of this transformation. Microplastics embedded in rock, chemical signatures from fossil fuel combustion, isotopic traces of nuclear tests. These will speak not only of a species that altered the climate, but of one that reached for the stars. For even as Earth bore the weight of industry, human eyes looked outward, toward the moon, toward Mars, toward the unknown. The launch of satellites and the echo of radio waves into space were not just technological feats. They were declarations. Earth, once mute in the cosmic dark, now had a voice. It carried with it the songs of whales, the laughter of children, the poetry of thousands of languages, and the data of countless discoveries. This planet, once indistinguishable from so many others, now shimmered with intention. And yet, amid this ascent, the fragility of Earth became more apparent than ever. The climate shifted, not through cosmic cycles or volcanic winters, but through human action. Glaciers wept into rising seas. Coral reefs, vibrant tapestries of life, bleached into bone-white silence. Species vanished at an accelerating rate. Forests burned. Storms grew in ferocity. But Earth did not turn against its children. Rather, it mirrored their choices. The atmosphere, once balanced by countless generations of life, began to respond to emissions that the biosphere could not absorb. The oceans, long buffers of carbon and heat, began to reflect the strain. And the soil, that ancient crucible of fertility, thinned beneath the pressure of overuse. In this moment of reckoning, a truth emerged, that the fate of Earth and humanity were forever intertwined. No longer could the two be separated. To harm one was to harm the other, To heal one was to heal both. This understanding sparked a new age, not one of conquest, but of reconciliation. Science, long a tool of exploration and industry, became a guide for restoration. Conservation efforts expanded. Clean energy took root. Awareness blossomed in the hearts of the young who looked upon the world not as a resource to be spent, but as a home to be cherished. The story of Earth's formation, once studied in the stillness of rock and fossil, now surged through every branch of knowledge. Biology and geology merged into ecology. Physics and chemistry mapped the interconnectedness of all things. The Earth was no longer seen as a machine, but as a living organism, dynamic, complex, and sacred. And through it all, Earth remained patient. The tectonic plates continued their slow ballet. The seasons cycled with grace. Seeds turned to trees, rivers carved canyons, and beneath the surface, in places untouched by light, new forms of life were still being discovered, reminding us that the Earth was far from finished. Its creativity remained boundless. To understand the origins of Earth is to realize that it was never a static object. From stardust to stone, from magma to meadow, from microbe to mammal, it has always been in motion. Its story is not just one of formation, but of transformation. It is the story of energy turned into form, of chaos sculpted into order, and of time itself given weight and shape in the curve of continents and the arc of evolution. Every moment we live is built upon this ancient foundation. Every breath we take is filtered through the lungs of forests and oceans born from eons of change. Every step we take is grounded in the bones of ancient mountains, and every thought we have is powered by the nutrients and energies that once surged through stars. Earth's origin, then, is not just a chapter in the past. It is the prologue to the present. It is the seed from which all human stories grow, and it is a reminder, endlessly silent yet profoundly powerful, that we are not separate from the Earth, but expressions of its will, its potential, and its wonder. In the deep weave of time's unfolding tapestry, Earth's presence stood as an enduring sculpture of stardust, gravity, and life. Its terrain, diverse, turbulent, and breathtaking, was a reflection not only of the physical forces that had shaped it, but of the delicate equilibrium that allowed life to persist and evolve. In a universe often indifferent to survival, from the towering ranges of the Himalayas to the endless sweep of the Sahara, from the glacial shields of Antarctica to the coral gardens of the Pacific, Earth was a gallery of contrasts and continuity, a place where extremes coexisted with an underlying harmony. The soil beneath our feet told of ancient forests and volcanic fire. Each mineral carried the memory of deep time, zircon crystals older than the moon, diamonds formed under unimaginable pressure, fossils encased in limestone like whispers of former worlds. In every grain of sand there was history. In every mountain, a tale of collision and uplift. Landscapes that seemed eternal were merely brief expressions of longer, deeper processes. And the surface we walk on today will one day fold, melt, and rise again, part of an ever-revolving cycle that began long before we arrived and will continue long after we are gone. Life, resilient, diverse, and endlessly inventive, continued to co-evolve with the very world that hosted it. From the molecular choreography within cells to the complex interplay of ecosystems, the biosphere pulsed with innovation. Evolution was not a straight line, but a web of branching possibilities. From ancient single-celled organisms came the flowering of biodiversity, fishes in seas, ferns in swamps, insects in the air, mammals on land. Each species, no matter how small, played a role in the symphony of life. Pollinators ensured the reproduction of plants that fed herbivores, which in turn supported carnivores. Fungi decomposed the fallen, returning nutrients to the soil. Predator and prey were bound in a balance that preserved the integrity of the whole. Coral reefs, wetlands, rainforests, these were not merely habitats, but engines of planetary health. Life shaped climate, influenced erosion, captured carbon, released oxygen, and altered geology. The Earth and its life forms were not separate stories, but a single unfolding narrative of transformation and interdependence. As intelligence blossomed in humans, so too did the capacity to reflect on these interconnections. Science unveiled the hidden rhythms of the world, plate tectonics that moved continents over eons, photosynthesis that fueled food chains, the water cycle that sustained all life. Every discovery was a revelation, that clouds were born of evaporation and condensation, that wind was the breath of thermal gradients, that rain-fed rivers which carved valleys and nourished civilizations. Human understanding deepened, yet so did human influence. The age of industry brought profound acceleration. Coal, oil, and gas, fossilized sunlight stored in the earth over hundreds of millions of years, were extracted and consumed in the span of mere centuries. This sudden release of ancient carbon disrupted the atmosphere, warming the planet and tipping the balance that life had maintained for so long. The Anthropocene had arrived, not by decree, but by consequence. Humanity had become a geological force. The air grew heavy with emissions, ice caps retreated, seasons shifted, oceans rose and warmed, and with them came acidification, bleaching coral reefs and disrupting marine life that had evolved under stable chemical conditions. Forests, once vast and dense, were cleared at unprecedented rates. Biodiversity, the fruit of billions of years, began to wither under the weight of habitat loss, pollution, and climate stress. And yet, even in this turbulence, Earth remained a place of wonder. The auroras danced in polar skies, magnetic ribbons of light stirred by solar winds, volcanoes birthed new islands, reminding all that the planet was still alive beneath its crust. Lightning traced jagged paths across stormy heavens, splitting nitrogen and charging the air with potential. Earth was not finished. It never would. Its cycles, though altered, still turned. Humanity's response to these changes revealed both our frailty and our potential. Knowledge expanded, and with it, awareness. Renewable energy emerged not merely as an alternative, but as a necessity. Conservation movements sought to protect the last wild places. Oceans were mapped, species cataloged, emissions monitored. Earth observation satellites circled the globe, capturing images of melting ice, growing deserts, shrinking forests, but also of regrowth, of migration corridors restored, of rivers freed from dams. New ways of thinking began to take root: ecological, design, circular economies, biomimicry, regenerative agriculture. These ideas were more than technical fixes, they were philosophical shifts. They asked us to see Earth not as a warehouse of resources, but as a living partner, a system of systems in which everything affects everything else. The lesson was not new, it was ancient, embedded in the myths and wisdom of indigenous peoples, who had long understood the value of balance, reciprocity, and respect. Through their traditions passed down through songs and stories, a truth echoed: that land is not owned but cared for, that water is not a commodity but a relation, that the sky is not above us but around us. These voices, long silenced or dismissed, began to resonate anew in an age that desperately needed to remember what it had forgotten. As the 21st century unfolded, Earth became a mirror, reflecting both the consequences of our actions and the possibilities of our choices. Technological advances brought new tools for healing: carbon capture, ocean cleanup, advanced materials, precision farming. Cities began to reimagine themselves as ecosystems, with green roofs, tree-lined streets, and wildlife corridors. Education emphasized planetary health, and young people rose to demand a future that honored the Earth's ancient story. Yet still, the greatest shift lay not in machines, but in mindset. For millennia, humans had seen themselves as separate from nature, masters of the world rather than members of it. But the evidence, etched in warming oceans, failing crops, and disappearing species, made clear that the separation was an illusion. Earth was not a backdrop to the human story. It was the story. To recognize this is to awaken to our place in the cosmos. Earth is not large by planetary standards. It is not the hottest, nor the most massive, nor the most unusual, but it is rare. A haven of liquid water, stable climate, and abundant life in a universe where such conditions are vanishingly rare. Earth's rarity is not merely statistical, it is sacred. It is the one place we know that has cradled consciousness, that has birthed music and mathematics, love and language. And in that sacredness lies responsibility. To study Earth's origins is not merely to marvel at volcanoes and comets, but to understand the fragility of the systems that sustain us. The story of Earth's formation is a story of chance, chemistry, violence, and grace. It is a story of collisions that brought water, of atmospheres that shielded, of moons that steadied, and of life that rose again and again from the brink. Our ancestors looked to the stars and named the constellations. Today we look to Earth and realize that it too is a constellation, a gathering of miracles, a collection of elements fused in forgotten furnaces, now swirling in oceans and flowing through veins. We are made of Earth's memory. We are its voice, its witness, and perhaps its hope. To preserve Earth is not only to preserve a planet, but to protect a promise that life can persist, that beauty can endure, and that consciousness can learn to live in harmony with its source. The path ahead is uncertain, but the story behind us is clear. This world, forged in fire and nurtured by time, is unique beyond measure. And so, as tectonic plates continue their silent drift, as seeds sprout in forgotten soils, as whales sing beneath polar ice and lichens cling to stone, Earth continues to tell its story, not in words, but in the language of presence, of being. And we, for a fleeting moment, are here to listen. Beneath the vast celestial dome, Earth spun in silent rhythm, its days and nights stitched together by an ancient clockwork that had never ceased. The world turned, and with every rotation, it bore witness to the passing of aeons, to the slow evolution of forms, and to the emergence of thought. Every sunrise brought the echo of creation, every sunset the quiet remembrance of all that had come before. Yet the heart of this planet, the molten soul buried beneath crust and mantle, beat steadily through the epochs, a core of seething iron that gave Earth its magnetic lifeblood and shielded life from the sun's invisible fury. This protective magnetosphere, a product of Earth's dynamic interior, served as a silent guardian. Without it, the solar wind would have stripped away the atmosphere, and with it the possibility of oceans, of forests, of flight. The churning core, invisible and inaccessible, made the surface habitable. It was a paradox common to Earth. The most vital elements were those we could not see, like the gravitational embrace that held the moon in orbit, or the carbon cycle that fueled growth and decay, or the DNA helix buried within each cell. Earth's deepest truths were those etched into structure and system, not spectacle. Above, the atmosphere formed a second veil of protection. What began as a chaotic blend of volcanic gases, carbon dioxide, methane, ammonia, was gradually transformed. Photosynthesis, that miraculous partnership between sunlight and pigment, began to reshape the very air. Oxygen, once rare, flooded the sky, an invisible revolution that would poison many ancient microbes, but unlock a new chapter in complexity. With this atmospheric change came the ozone layer, absorbing ultraviolet radiation and allowing life to flourish on land as well as in the seas. Thus, what was once barren rock became meadow, tundra, jungle, savanna, each biome a song written in the language of sunlight and water. Over the ages, life spread into every crevice. Extremophiles colonized scalding vents and frozen lakes. Moss crept across stone. Birds, descendants of ancient theropods, soared over mountain and plain. Insects, countless and tireless, became pollinators, decomposers, architects of ecological balance. And in forests of towering trees and seas of darting fish, the great cycles of life and death continued without pause, without waste, without end. Decomposition fed roots, exhalation fed leaves, predation pruned and refined. Earth's biosphere was not a static garden, It was a living system of checks and counterbalances. Feedback loops shaped its resilience. Too much carbon, and plants grew faster, drawing it down. Too much nitrogen, and algae bloomed, crashing ecosystems and forcing adjustment. Everything was part of something larger. A tree was not simply a tree. It was a microclimate, a carbon sink, a habitat, a story written from root to crown. Then came the minds that observed all this. Minds that noticed the patterns of migrating birds and flowering plants. Minds that carved meaning into rock, that mapped the stars, that wondered at eclipses and tides. These were human minds, restless, searching, filled with questions that reached beyond survival. The emergence of consciousness, of reflective thought, was as profound a shift as the appearance of multicellular life. With it came art, language, memory, belief. Earth was no longer merely inhabited. It was interpreted, understood, revered. From the cave paintings of Lascaux to the pyramids of Giza, from the Vedas and the Tao to the scientific method and quantum theory, human culture became an extension of Earth's own creative unfolding. We were not above nature, but a further manifestation of its potential, a form of life that could imagine, model, and reshape reality. And with this power came both glory and risk. The ability to craft tools became the ability to craft weapons. The desire to grow became the temptation to extract without restraint. Still, even in our ambition, the earth remained foundational. Every monument rose from quarried stone. Every temple faced the sun. Every city depended on water. Every meal traced back to soil, seed, rain. No invention, no empire, no ideology could sever the bonds of dependence. Earth was not a possession. It was the context of all possessions. It was the cradle, the stage, the container, and the mirror. But time did not stop, and neither did transformation. The 20th century unleashed unprecedented change. Fossil fuels powered cities, aircraft, and global networks. Plastics, polymers, engineered from ancient hydrocarbons, proliferated in every corner of the world. Agriculture, once cyclical and localized, became industrial and global. The Green Revolution fed billions but also drained aquifers and degraded soils. The digital age connected minds but disconnected many from the land. And the numbers began to tell a story that was hard to ignore. Carbon dioxide levels higher than at any time in the past 800,000 years. Ice sheets thinning. Ocean acidity rising. Species disappearing at rates unseen since the last mass extinction. These were not prophecies. They were data. And the data spoke clearly. The Earth was responding, as it always had, to new inputs. The system was adjusting. But this time the driver was not a meteor or a supervolcano. It was us. The question, then, was not whether Earth would endure. It had survived impacts, supercontinents, snowball states. The question was whether its biosphere, as we had known it, temperate, stable, abundant, would continue. Whether civilization, that fragile mosaic of cooperation, could adapt as swiftly as we had altered the world. Whether our ingenuity could be turned inward, toward wisdom, restraint, regeneration. In this age of planetary awareness, the view from space offered perspective. From orbit, Earth appeared as a blue marble, wrapped in clouds, with no borders. Visible, no cities glowing, no signs of human pride or division. Just water, rock, and green, an oasis adrift in darkness. Astronauts spoke of the overview effect, a shift in consciousness born from seeing the whole world at once. They returned to Earth changed, not because the laws of physics had altered, but because the perception of unity had pierced the illusion of separateness. That same perception began to take root in science, philosophy, activism, and art. Movements grew that spoke of stewardship, of rewilding, of restoring wetlands, replanting forests, removing dams. Indigenous rights gained new recognition, not as a matter of justice alone, but of wisdom, of ways of knowing that modern systems had neglected. A new ethic emerged, one not based on domination, but on reciprocity. And so, Earth entered another chapter, not geologic in scale but moral, not measured in sediment but in values. Could a species capable of understanding its origin also choose to preserve its future? Could the story of Earth become a story of redemption as well as creation? The signs were mixed. Coral reefs, once brilliant, continued to decline, but in some regions, protections led to rebounds. Rivers that had been choked ran free again. Species on the brink were brought back through conservation and breeding. Renewable energy installations surpassed fossil fuel capacity in many nations. Younger generations growing up under the shadow of climate crisis demanded not only change, but transformation. The transformation would not be easy. It would mean rethinking growth, redefining progress, reevaluating our place. It would mean learning from nature, not simply extracting from it. It would mean seeing Earth not as something to be saved in the abstract, but as something intimately tied to every breath, every meal, every moment of joy and pain. Earth, after all, is not somewhere else. It is not an idea or a symbol. It is the dust underfoot, the moisture in the air, the food on the table. It is the gravity that holds us and the silence that surrounds us. It is the foundation of all life, and the canvas upon which all our dreams are painted. To understand its formation is to glimpse the improbable sequence of miracles that made our existence possible. To honor that formation is to live in a way that reflects its gifts, and to protect it is not a burden but a privilege, a chance to give back to the world that has given us everything. And as the night sky arcs overhead, revealing the same constellations seen by ancient eyes, Earth turns, quietly beneath them, steady, luminous, alive. Its journey is not over. Its mystery is not solved. Its beauty is not diminished. It remains our home, our origin, and our greatest teacher. Long before the skies bore the weight of cities' smog and satellites, before roads carved across the land and rivers were bent to human will, Earth was a place of pristine silence and sublime power. Its surface bore no mark of human touch, only wind, fire, water, and time. From pole to equator, it was an unbroken theater of geological artistry, where mountains rose like cathedrals, plains stretched like parchment, and oceans roared with ancient voices. These elements were the original architects, working not with blueprints but with persistence, carving valleys, lifting ranges, filling basins. The Earth's crust, fractured into massive tectonic plates, floated on the semi-fluid mantle below. These plates moved with the relentless patience of millennia, colliding, diverging, sliding past one another. When they met in violence, mountains were born. When they parted, oceans formed. The Himalayas, for instance, began their slow climb skyward when the Indian plate rammed into the Eurasian, a colossal movement still continuing today. The Andes, a spine of fire and rock along South America's edge, emerged from the grinding of oceanic crust beneath continental mass. These upheavals sculpted the very face of the world, forming the arenas where future life would play out. As land masses shifted and reassembled, they wove a tapestry of continents and supercontinents, Rodinia, Pannotia, Gondwana, Laurasia, and the legendary Pangaea. These were not static territories but dynamic expressions of Earth's deep time. Dance. They formed and fractured, altering ocean currents, climate patterns, and evolutionary pathways. With every rupture and reunion, ecosystems adapted or perished, species migrated or vanished, climates cooled or warmed. And through it all, Earth remained indifferent, continuing its slow rhythm beneath a sky indifferent to the lives it sheltered. Volcanoes, Earth's fiery mouths, played a dual role, destroyer and creator. From their throats came death in the form of lava, ash, and poisonous gas, but also renewal. The islands of Hawaii, the Galapagos, and Iceland are children of fire, born from hotspots and ridges where magma breached the crust. Volcanic soils, rich with minerals, nourished dense forests and fertile fields. And in the deep past, immense eruptions reshaped life's trajectory, like the Siberian traps, whose emissions likely triggered the Great Dying, the worst mass extinction in Earth's history. Mass extinctions, though catastrophic, were part of Earth's evolving story. 5 times in its vast history, life suffered devastating losses. The Ordovician-Silurian extinction, the Devonian crisis, the Permian catastrophe, the Triassic purge, and the Cretaceous conclusion all left scars, reshuffled ecosystems, and cleared the way for new life to rise. After each devastation, Earth slowly recovered, and evolution found new forms to express its creativity. Mammals emerged in the shadow of dinosaurs. Birds took flight from the remnants of feathered reptiles. Life, ever tenacious, refused to yield. Weathering and erosion, quieter forces than volcanoes or quakes, were no less powerful. The cycle of rain, freeze, and thaw broke mountains into dust. Rivers carved canyons that revealed layers of buried time. Wind swept deserts into dunes and polished rocks with grains of sand. Glaciers, immense and patient, scraped continents clean, their weight-carving valleys, their meltwater feeding nascent lakes. The Grand Canyon, the fjords of Norway, the Badlands of North America, all were testaments to time's artistry. And while Earth's surface was reshaped, its atmosphere continued to evolve. Over eons, the balance of gases shifted. Oxygen levels rose and fell. Greenhouse gases waxed and waned. Ice ages came and went. At times, glaciers reached the tropics, encasing the planet in what some call snowball Earth. At others, the poles were lush with forests, dinosaurs basking near the Antarctic Circle. Climate was not a stable backdrop, but a volatile actor, influencing which species thrived and which faded into fossil memory. The oceans, too, were vast engines of change. Their currents transported heat, their depths held secrets, their tides marked time with the moon's gentle tug. Coral reefs built limestone cathedrals beneath the waves. Phytoplankton, invisible to the eye, produced half the world's oxygen. The ocean floor spread outward from mid-ocean ridges, consuming crust in subduction zones and releasing it anew. Beneath the abyssal plains, life endured in darkness, feeding not on sunlight but on chemical energy from Earth's core. Above all, the atmosphere served as both shield and sustainer. Its layers protected the surface from radiation, regulated temperature, and enabled weather. Clouds formed from evaporated seas. Storms gathered heat and released it in flashes of lightning. Winds carried seeds across continents. Rain eroded mountains and watered roots. The air was not inert. It was alive with motion, chemistry, and consequence. And into this air, Earth released its voice. The roar of thunder, the sigh of wind, the crash of waves, the call of beasts. Earth's history was not a narrative of uninterrupted progress. It was a mosaic of sudden shifts, quiet stretches, and chaotic bursts. It was neither teleological nor random. It was guided by physics, chemistry, and chance. No deity scripted its path, yet its trajectory felt sacred. It was a planet that did not aim for life, but became its perfect crucible. Then, through the long arc of time, a creature arose that could remember, wonder, and ask why. Humanity. Fragile, bipedal, inventive. It tamed fire, carved tools, painted stories in ochre and charcoal. It built shelters, then cities. It farmed the land, then measured the stars. It dreamed of gods, laws, futures, and in doing so it became both participant in and shaper of Earth's destiny. With knowledge came ambition. With ambition came dominion. Forests fell. Rivers were dammed. Animals were domesticated, then driven extinct. Mountains were mined, oceans trawled, skies filled with smoke. Earth, long self-regulating, began to falter. Its climate, once balanced, tipped. Its rhythms, once slow, accelerated. Its wounds deepened. But Earth did not rebel, it responded. Warmer air held more moisture. Storms intensified. Droughts lengthened. Ice retreated. Seas rose. Species migrated or vanished. Feedback loops tightened. And the creature that once looked to the stars for meaning now looked inward, to the soil, the trees, the coral, the bees, for answers. Some listened. Some learned. The language of carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus cycles once invisible became urgent. ecosystem services, biodiversity, planetary boundaries, terms once confined to science, entered public discourse. The idea of Earth as a living system, Gaia, once mythic, became metaphor, then model. And through this growing awareness came a reckoning, not of punishment but of possibility. Could a species capable of altering the planet learn to heal it? Could technology serve biology? Could growth become regeneration? Could prosperity mean harmony? The answer lay not in ideology, but in practice, in permaculture farms that mimicked forests, in buildings that breathed, in fisheries managed with restraint, in communities that shared, restored, remembered. The earth offered its terms. They were simple: adapt, respect, balance, renew. To those who paid attention, Earth spoke, clearly. Its voice was in the silence of extinct birds, in the heat of urban summers, in the stillness of bleached reefs, but also in the return of wolves, the bloom of restored wetlands, the rebound of ozone. It said, "I am not yours to conquer, but to belong to. I am not passive but patient. I can endure without you, but I flourish with your care." Earth, our origin in orbit, remains what it has always been, a masterpiece of motion and matter, of emergence and entropy. Its story is still being written in the roots of seedlings, the genes of creatures, the minds of children not yet born. And whether it continues as a tale of loss or a song of renewal depends not on the stars, but on the choices made under them. Beneath our feet, the ground remembers. Above our heads, the sky waits. All around us, the planet listens. In the depths of prehistory, long before written memory and spoken tradition, Earth's surface was a primal theater of change. Elemental forces sculpted a dynamic world, but it was the patient unfolding of deep time that laid the foundation for all that followed. The crust cracked and healed, the seas ebbed and surged, the skies fluctuated between greenhouse warmth and glacial chill. These were not momentary shifts, but epic symphonies composed over millions of years. Their tempo was tectonic, their scale was planetary. The mineral record became the book in which these events were chronicled. Layers of sediment captured ancient shorelines, igneous intrusions froze moments of fire, fossils immortalized the shape of vanished life. From stromatolites, layered microbial reefs that once carpeted Earth's shallows, to the exquisite remains of trilobites, ammonites, and dinosaurs, stone remembered what memory could not. Geology, in this sense, was not simply the study of rocks, but the deciphering of Earth's autobiography. Beneath the surface, in hidden veins and pockets, Earth's treasures accumulated: gold, copper, diamonds, rare earths. These minerals, created through volcanic activity, hydrothermal processes, and the violent deaths of stars, would one day become currency, circuitry, and ornament. But in the eons before exploitation, they were simply another expression of the planet's complexity, silent, radiant, waiting. The biosphere, too, grew ever more intricate. Life did not proceed in a straight line but in branching bursts. Cambrian seas teemed with experimental forms, armored worms, jawless fish, creatures with fractal limbs and crystalline eyes. Some of these forms would vanish quickly, evolutionary cul-de-sacs, while others would give rise to familiar lineages. The vertebrates, the mollusks, the arthropods all emerged from this early riot of design. The oceans, long the exclusive domain of life, were a crucible of innovation. Plants colonized land next, in a slow, quiet revolution. Mosses and liverworts clung to damp rocks, followed by ferns and horsetails that rose like green lace from muddy banks. Roots dug into the soil, altering its chemistry. Leaves reached skyward, intercepting light. The carbon drawn from air was buried with the dead, slowly lowering atmospheric CO2 and preparing the planet for colder times. Forests, those towering assemblies of cellulose and chlorophyll, emerged, and with them, a new era of terrestrial complexity. Insects arrived soon after, their small bodies perfectly adapted to the crevices and complexities of forest life. Some flew, others burrowed, many pollinated. They became intermediaries between plants and the wider world, agents of both birth and decay. Their numbers were staggering, their variety breathtaking. They were and remain the most successful class of animals on Earth, their lives woven into nearly every ecological thread. Amphibians, the first vertebrates to stride onto land, were born of a dual allegiance, water for breeding, land for feeding. But it was the reptiles who broke that bond, encasing their young in hard-shelled eggs that freed them from dependency on the aquatic. This innovation opened the floodgates of terrestrial expansion. Reptiles grew in size, number, and diversity, culminating in the age of dinosaurs, creatures whose bones once walked upon every continent, from the tropics to the poles. The Mesozoic era was a time of giants. Sauropods stretched longer than buses. Pterosaurs glided across prehistoric skies. Predator and prey evolved in tandem, a dance of fang and armor, speed and cunning. Dinosaurs did not rule by accident. They were shaped by a world that favored scale, specialization, and survival. Yet even as they thrived, seeds were sown for a different future. Small, nocturnal mammals scurried beneath their feet, waiting for their moment. That moment came not through struggle, but cataclysm. A meteor, 6 miles wide, struck the Yucatan with force beyond comprehension. The impact incinerated the sky, boiled the seas, triggered firestorms and darkness. Photosynthesis ceased, food chains collapsed, and in that sudden, brutal void, the age of dinosaurs ended. But life did not end. It shifted. Mammals, warm-blooded and adaptable, moved into the vacant niches. Some returned to the oceans, becoming whales and seals. Others took to the trees, giving rise to primates. Hands grasped, eyes aligned, brains expanded. Social structures emerged. And slowly, over millions of years, one lineage of apes stood upright, learned to shape tools, and began to speak. Homo sapiens was not inevitable. Dozens of hominin species came before us. Australopithecus, Homo habilis, Homo erectus. They hunted, foraged, migrated, and perished. We inherited their fire, their curiosity, their vulnerability. What set us apart was not strength, but story. We learned to transmit knowledge across generations, not just through genes, but through language, symbols, and eventually written words. Agriculture transformed our relationship to the land. We ceased to follow the seasons, and instead tried to master them. Crops were domesticated, animals bred, villages formed. With surplus came storage. With storage came power. With power came hierarchy. Civilizations rose in fertile valleys, the Nile, the Tigris and Euphrates, the Indus, the Yellow River. Monumental architecture, complex religions, legal codes, and wars followed. As we spread, we reshaped ecosystems to suit our needs. Forests became fields. Rivers were dammed. Soils were tilled and depleted. Species were driven out, down, or extinct. Yet even in this transformation, Earth remained our source of nourishment, materials, and meaning. We built our myths on its cycles. We marked our calendars by its solstices and equinoxes. We worshipped its storms, its animals, its abundance. The age of exploration expanded our sense of Earth's dimensions. Oceans once seen as boundaries became highways. Continents were charted, claimed, and contested. Knowledge grew, but so did conquest. Plants, animals, and microbes were exchanged. Across hemispheres, colonization reshaped cultures and ecosystems alike. Earth was increasingly viewed as a resource, not a relative. The scientific revolution deepened our understanding of natural laws. Gravity, motion, electricity, evolution, all were discovered, or theorized in a remarkably short span. Earth was no longer a static orb, but a dynamic system governed by elegant principles. We peered into its past through fossils and strata, into its core through seismic waves, into its future through models and equations. With satellites and sensors, we took Earth's pulse from above. The Industrial Revolution accelerated everything. Fossil fuels unleashed energy on a scale unimaginable. Machines multiplied our labor, cities grew, consumption soared. Carbon, once trapped underground for millions of years, was unleashed in decades. The atmosphere changed, the climate shifted, and the Anthropocene began. The Anthropocene, a term debated but apt, marks the epoch in which human activity became a geological force. We moved more rock than rivers. We altered the composition of the air. We acidified oceans, leveled mountains, lit the night sky. Plastic drifted into the deepest trenches. Pesticides reached the most remote forests. Species vanished faster than they could be named, and all the while, Earth adapted, recalibrated, endured. Yet amidst this upheaval, a countercurrent emerged. A recognition that we are not separate from nature, but expressions of it. That technology can be guided by ecology. That progress must include preservation. Conservation movements, climate accords, renewable innovations, and indigenous resurgence all point toward a new relationship, one rooted in humility, reciprocity, and responsibility. For Earth is not a backdrop, it is the primary actor. It breathes, through forests, pulses with seasons, dreams in the forms of animals and plants. Its silence is not emptiness but potential. Its storms are not wrath, but equilibrium. And we, brief sparks in its vast span, are given a singular gift, the power to choose awe over apathy, restoration over ruin, to remember that every grain of sand was once a mountain, every drop of rain once starlight, every breath we take borrowed from a planet that forged itself through fire and time. Earth endures. But whether it thrives, whether the future holds, not just survival but harmony, depends on whether we remember that we too are of the Earth and must now act as its caretakers, not its conquerors. In the relentless unfolding of Earth's narrative, there comes a point when the past ceases to be mere memory. It becomes prophecy, not because history repeats itself with perfect symmetry, but because it reveals patterns, balances, and consequences. What Earth has endured before, it may endure again. What Earth has offered, it may still offer, yet never without a price, never without response. As the modern world grew louder with engines and brighter with artificial light, it also became increasingly insulated from the raw rhythms of nature. Walls of concrete, glass, and steel separated bodies from soil, and minds from the long memory of land. But Earth's memory does not forget. Its tectonic plates shift with the same force. Its volcanoes rumble with the same heat. Its oceans rise with the same patience. There is no insulation from the consequences of disconnection. Still, in the face of dissonance, the planet continues its patient rotation. The forests breathe, converting sunlight into food and carbon into form. The rivers carve their beds with unrelenting grace. Coral polyps build cities beneath waves. Even the deserts bloom, awaiting only a drop of rain to awaken life sleeping. Beneath the dust, Earth offers miracles not in flashes but in slow unfolding. It teaches that endurance is not resistance, it is adaptation. The atmosphere, layered like the pages of a fragile manuscript, contains the breath of ancient times. In the air we exhale and inhale swirl atoms once breathed by mammoths, philosophers, and stars. Climate is the language this air speaks, a language written in winds and temperatures, in seasons and currents. For millennia, this language whispered equilibrium, but in recent centuries, it has begun to shout. Carbon, the silent architect of life, has turned antagonist under our misdirection. Released in abundance, it traps heat, thickens the air, warms the seas. Ice melts. Storms strengthen. Species migrate north or vanish altogether. Coral reefs bleach into bone-white monuments of warning. The climate system, once predictable, now stammers with extremes, floods, fires, droughts, hurricanes. These are not punishments, they are responses. Yet within these responses lie lessons. Earth reveals its thresholds not in vengeance, but in signals. The drying of lakes, the cracking of permafrost, the migration of birds, all tell of changes, deeper than weather. They are Earth's messages in motion. And we, if we choose to listen, can learn not only how to endure, but how to transform. Transformation does not mean a return to some imagined Eden. It means awakening to the reality that technology must serve life, not exploit it. That energy must flow in cycles, not lines. That waste must become resource. That growth must mean deepening, not expanding. And above all, that human power must be tempered by planetary awareness. In the field of soil lies a key. Once dismissed as dirt, it is now understood as a complex, living matrix, the skin of the earth. Within a handful of soil dwell billions of organisms, forming networks of exchange, symbiosis, and regeneration. Healthy soil captures carbon, retains water, and feeds ecosystems. It is both ancient and renewable, both fragile and powerful. And yet, it is vanishing under the weight of tillage, chemicals, and overuse. Regenerating soil is not merely an act of farming, it is an act of planetary healing. In the forest stands another key. Trees are not solitary. They are social, sharing nutrients and signals through underground fungal networks. A forest is a web of mutual aid, a collective intelligence evolved over millions of years. It regulates climate, stores water, nurtures biodiversity. Deforestation is not only the loss of trees, it is the unraveling of systems that support life at every level. Protecting and restoring forests is not charity to nature, it is self-preservation. The oceans, vast and mysterious, hold still more keys. They are lungs, memory banks, and highways of heat. They shelter creatures we have barely named. But they are also at risk, warming, acidifying, overfished. Coral reefs, kelp forests, seagrass meadows, all crucial buffers of life, are in decline. And yet the ocean is resilient. Marine protected areas, sustainable practices, and indigenous stewardship have shown that healing is possible. What the ocean needs most is time and respect. And in the sky above, the great connector of all things, we find the final key: perspective. From space, Earth appears whole, without borders, without divisions, a blue marble floating in darkness. This image, captured by astronauts, did more than dazzle. It awakened. It reminded us that we share one home, one atmosphere, one fate. From orbit, there are no nations, no fences, only clouds, continents, and the shimmer of cities. This planetary perspective is not an abstraction, it is an imperative. It tells us that no matter how advanced our machines become, no matter how vast our data, we remain part of a system older and wiser than any civilization. The sun will still rise on forests and oceans long after empires fade. And whether humanity remains to witness it depends not on fate, but on choice. The science is clear. The solutions exist. Renewable energy can power our homes. Circular economies can eliminate waste. Regenerative agriculture can restore fertility. Rewilding can bring balance. Conservation can protect the last wild places. Education can uplift minds. Community can reconnect hearts. The challenge is not knowledge, it is will. Not possibility, but courage. Earth is not broken. It is responding. It is recalibrating. It is offering us a mirror, asking us to look not just at the damage we have done, but at the wisdom we have forgotten. Indigenous cultures for millennia lived in reciprocity with land and sky. Their traditions, long ignored or suppressed, hold insights into sustainable living, into reverence as a form of resilience. Remembering them, we remember something of ourselves. For we are not separate from nature, we are nature becoming aware of itself. The veins in our hands mirror the branching of rivers. The breath in our lungs echoes the wind through trees. The calcium in our bones was once part of coral reefs. The iron in our blood was forged in stars. To protect Earth is not to protect something outside of us, it is to protect what we are. In every act of care, a seed planted, a species sheltered, a river cleaned, we realign with the story Earth has always told. That life begets life, that cooperation outlasts conquest, that humility is strength. There is still time. The window narrows, but it is open. What we choose now determines the shape of centuries. So look to the soil, to the forests, to the tides and skies. Listen to the whisper of roots, the rhythm of waves, the silence of glaciers. Let their wisdom guide our action. Let their endurance inform our hope. Let their beauty rekindle our love. For Earth is not just where we live, it is what we are, and its future is our legacy. Beneath the pulse of civilization, under the humming cities and endless highways, Earth continues its quiet evolution. The rocks remain patient, the mountains whisper their slow truths, the tectonic plates carry continents like ancient rafts drifting on molten tides. Even as the noise of human endeavor crescendos, the planet's foundational rhythms continue in silence and certainty. The crust that supports our structures is not immutable. It is a temporary shell, shifting and reshaping through processes far older than memory. Earthquakes fracture it without warning. Volcanoes pierce it with molten language. The continents move, sometimes centimeters in a year, sometimes more, shuffling toward new arrangements over epochs. These movements do not consult our timetables. They follow the logic of pressure and time, of heat and motion. Beneath the crust lies the mantle, a roiling mass of semi-solid rock that flows like thick honey over eons. It is in this vast and hidden chamber that the fate of continents is forged. Here, heat left over from Earth's formation, combined with radioactive decay, drives convection currents that move the lithosphere above. The mantle is the engine of plate tectonics, of mountain building, of ocean basin formation. It is unseen, yet profoundly felt, and deeper still at the very heart of the planet lies the core, outer and inner. The outer core, liquid and metallic, churns violently. Its motion generates Earth's magnetic field, an invisible shield that deflects solar wind and cosmic radiation, allowing life to persist on the surface. The inner core, a solid sphere of iron and nickel, rotates independently, mysterious and resilient. It is the densest region of the Earth, the buried relic of ancient collisions, still cooling, still alive with potential. This deep interior, so removed from daily life, is nonetheless crucial to everything we know. Without it, the compass would not point north. The auroras would not dance. The atmosphere might be stripped by solar fury. Life would be vastly different if it could exist at all. We walk above a dynamic planet whose inner secrets shape its outer face, whose heat and metal determine the very possibility of biospheres and weather. Yet the planet's surface is where we dwell, and it is here that the full spectacle of Earth's creative power is most visible. Rivers sculpt canyons with patient insistence. Glaciers grind valleys beneath their frozen bellies. Winds etch sand dunes across deserts. Rain nourishes and erodes. These forces seem gentle by human standards, but over geological time, they wield immeasurable strength. Erosion, the slow rearrangement of landscapes, reveals the interplay between structure and impermanence. No mountain is eternal, no coastline static. Even the mightiest formations crumble, returning to the sea as sediment. But in this dismantling lies creation. Rivers carry minerals to deltas where new lands are formed. Ocean floors accumulate. The remains of ancient continents. Out of what was, something new becomes. Life responds to these shifts with extraordinary plasticity. Plants root into cracks in stone. Lichen spreads where nothing else survives. Animals migrate with seasons, adapt to altitude, evolve in isolation. Islands become laboratories of evolution, spawning unique species in isolation. Every terrain shapes its inhabitants, and every inhabitant, in turn, reshapes the land. Rainforests breathe moisture into the air and generate their own weather. Beavers engineer wetlands. Coral reefs buffer coastlines and slow wave energy. Earth's living systems are not passengers. They are co-creators, symbiotic architects of the biosphere. The line between geology and biology blurs the deeper one looks. Even time itself is differently measured by the Earth. While humans count in minutes and years, the planet works in cycles that defy brevity. Milankovitch cycles, subtle shifts in Earth's orbit and axial tilt, govern ice ages. Ocean currents, like the thermohaline conveyor belt, operate over centuries. Geological epochs span millions of years. The scale of Earth's processes is almost incomprehensible, yet every moment we experience is nested within them. The fossil record, etched into stone like an ancient script, reminds us that life is both resilient and fragile. The great extinctions, Ordovician, Devonian, Permian, Triassic, Cretaceous, each wiped the slate clean in different ways. Yet each was followed by renewal. After devastation, life returned with fresh innovation, new species filling emptied niches. The Earth, it seems, is always willing to begin again. But the present moment carries a unique fingerprint. For the first time in planetary history, a single species, us, has become a global force, capable of triggering extinction at rates rivaling past cataclysms. Unlike the asteroid that ended the dinosaurs, we act with intention. We burn, build, consume, and discard at a scale and speed the natural world cannot match. This is not simply an environmental crisis. It is a civilizational one rooted in forgetting our place within Earth's systems. To regain that place is not regression, but remembrance. It is to reawaken to the idea that the Earth is not a machine to be optimized, but a living matrix to be respected. The air is not an exhaustible commodity. It is a shared breath. The water is not a resource. It is a cycle of life. The soil is not dirt beneath our feet. It is the medium of regeneration. Modern knowledge allows us to see these truths with unprecedented clarity. Satellite imaging reveals deforestation in real time. Genetic sequencing unveils the kinship between species. Climate models simulate futures that hang in delicate balance. We possess the data, the tools, and increasingly the wisdom. What we must summon now is resolve. That resolve begins with reverence. For every stone contains a story. Every drop of water has passed through clouds and roots and bodies untold. Every gust of wind carries the echoes of forests and mountains. Earth is not inert matter. It is storied substance. And we are part of its story, not its authors. From the molten birth of the core to the rustle of leaves in today's forest. From the drifting continents to the migratory paths of whales. From the first spark of microbial life to the flicker of thought in the human mind. This planet has been in a state of continual becoming. It is not a destination. It is a process. And so, the question we must face is not simply what Earth is, but what it might become, and whether we will walk with it into that future or stand apart and suffer the consequences. Our technology has made us powerful, but only our humility can make us wise. This humility does not mean submission. It means participation. It means designing with nature, not against it. It means aligning economies with ecology. It means building cities that mimic forests, farms that heal the land, industries that recycle endlessly. It means listening to the whispers of geology and the chorus of the wild. Earth has been many things: a fireball, a water world, a snowball, a cradle of creatures. It has known silence and symphony, desolation and abundance. It has no single form, no final state. Its beauty lies in its becoming, and its becoming is, in part, now entrusted to us. We cannot return to a primordial past, but we can imagine a future rooted in ancient wisdom. A future where rivers run clean, where skies are quiet with migrating birds, where children know the names of trees, where our inventions deepen, rather than disrupt, the web of life. This is not a dream. It is a direction. It begins with seeing the Earth not as ground beneath us, but as a presence among us, alive, dynamic, sacred. For in the end, Earth is not something we must save. It is something we must learn to belong to once more. Today, as we stand on the shoulders of millennia, it is crucial to remember the journey that brought us here. The story of Earth's origins, the birth of the planet that sustains all life. Our tale begins in the vastness of space, where cosmic dust and gas swirled around a newborn star, the Sun. This stellar nursery was the cradle of our planet, a spinning disk of debris gradually gathering through gravity's unseen hand. From these humble beginnings, particles collided and clumped, growing into planetesimals, small, rocky bodies that danced a chaotic dance around the young sun. Over millions of years, these planetesimals merged through countless impacts, forming larger bodies. Among these was the embryonic Earth, a molten sphere shaped by fire and collision. This violent infancy was marked by heat and chaos. The young Earth was a furnace of melting rock, where heavier elements like iron sank to the core, while lighter silicates floated upward to form the crust. This differentiation was vital, giving Earth its layered structure, core, mantle, crust, and setting the stage for the magnetic field and plate tectonics that would follow. Amidst this fiery turmoil, Earth's surface began to cool, allowing the formation of a primitive crust. Yet the planet remained volatile. Gigantic impacts reshaped the landscape and likely gave birth to the Moon, a companion formed from a colossal collision between Earth and a Mars-sized body named Theia. This event not only created the Moon, but also played a crucial role in stabilizing Earth's tilt, thus influencing the climate patterns that make life possible. As the planet cooled further, water vapor from volcanic outgassing condensed into liquid, forming the first oceans. These vast bodies of water became the crucible for life, nurturing the earliest microorganisms in their dark depths. Over billions of years, these simple life forms transformed the atmosphere, producing oxygen that would eventually allow complex organisms to evolve. Earth's geological record reveals cycles of creation and destruction, supercontinents assembling and breaking apart, mountain ranges rising and eroding, ice ages advancing and retreating. Each cycle has shaped the surface and climate, providing the dynamic conditions that foster biodiversity. Life itself has been a force of change, transforming rocks and atmosphere, carving the landscape with forests and coral reefs, and adapting through endless evolutionary innovation. Humanity, a recent addition to this story, carries the power to influence Earth at a planetary scale. Our awareness of Earth's origins enriches our understanding of our place within this vast, interconnected system. It reminds us that the planet is not static, but alive with processes deep and wide. It is a reminder that life is both fragile and tenacious, that the environment we depend on is the product of intricate balances maintained over eons. With this knowledge comes responsibility. We hold the ability to protect or harm, to sustain or degrade. The story of Earth's formation is also a story of resilience and renewal. It invites us to act with wisdom, to live in harmony with the planet that gave us life. In acknowledging the forces that shaped Earth, from cosmic dust to living forests, we find inspiration to shape a future where humanity and nature thrive together. Our collective actions can honor the profound legacy of our planet's origins by fostering stewardship and respect. To cherish Earth is to recognize the delicate thread of life woven through time and space, a thread that connects stars, rocks, water, air, and all living beings. It is through this thread that we find our true home and our shared destiny. From the very moment Earth ignited into existence, a delicate dance of elements and forces commenced, a dance that would span billions of years and culminate in the world we inhabit today. The early Earth was a realm of extremes, a crucible where fire met water and chaos gave way to order. In these primordial times, volcanic eruptions spewed molten rock and gases into the sky, while relentless bombardment from asteroids reshaped the planet's surface and energy balance. This volatile period, known as the Hadean Eon, witnessed Earth's gradual cooling, enabling the first stable crust to form. Beneath this crust, the heat of the young planet fueled dynamic processes. Convection currents in the mantle stirred, the rocky shell above setting the stage for plate tectonics. These shifting plates, moving at a pace imperceptible to human senses, have been architects of continents, mountains, and ocean basins. But the emergence of stable land was only part of Earth's transformation. Above the crust, the atmosphere was evolving, a mixture of gases born from volcanic outgassing and impacted by external forces such as solar wind and cosmic radiation. This early atmosphere was hostile by today's standards, rich in methane, ammonia, and carbon dioxide, yet it was a necessary precursor for the development of life. Water, the vital elixir, accumulated in the cooling basins, forming vast oceans that blanketed the planet. These oceans were not simply passive receptacles, but active participants in Earth's evolving story. They moderated temperatures, transported nutrients, and served as the cradle for the first known life forms, microscopic organisms that would eventually alter the atmosphere and biosphere in profound ways. The advent of life began in the depths of these ancient seas. Simple, single-celled organisms harnessed chemical energy from hydrothermal vents, thriving in the absence of sunlight. Over eons, photosynthetic bacteria appeared, capturing sunlight and releasing oxygen, a seemingly modest act with monumental consequences. This great oxygenation event transformed the atmosphere, paving the way for complex life. Simultaneously, Earth's geological processes continued to sculpt the surface. The assembly and breakup of supercontinents reshaped ocean currents and climates, influencing evolutionary pathways. Mountain ranges rose and eroded, rivers carved valleys, and glaciers advanced and retreated in cycles that span millennia. This interconnectedness of geology, atmosphere, oceans, and life forms the foundation of the Earth system, a complex web where changes in one realm ripple across others. Understanding this system is crucial to grasp how our planet operates and how it sustains the delicate balance necessary for life. The story of Earth's formation is not merely a chronicle of physical events. It is an ongoing narrative of transformation, resilience, and interdependence. From fiery beginnings to the emergence of consciousness, Earth has been a stage for continual renewal. Today, humanity's impact on this system is unprecedented, offering both challenges and opportunities. By learning from Earth's history, we gain insight into the mechanisms that maintain its vitality and the thresholds that, if crossed, may lead to irreversible change. Our responsibility is to act as stewards, respecting the planet's processes, restoring degraded systems, and cultivating sustainable practices. The origins of Earth remind us that we are part of a vast continuum, linked through time and matter to stars and ancient life. This connection calls us to humility and reverence, inspiring us to protect the living world that sustains us. In embracing Earth's story, we find hope and direction, a path toward harmony where human ingenuity aligns with natural rhythms, where progress nurtures rather than depletes, and where the legacy we leave is one of renewal. The origins of our planet are the origins of our own existence. They teach us that from the chaos of formation emerges order, from simplicity arises complexity, and from endurance blooms life. This knowledge is a beacon, guiding us toward a future in which Earth's story continues, vibrant and whole. As we delve deeper into the chronicle of our planet, we find that Earth's history is a vast tapestry, woven from countless threads, each representing a moment, a force, a transformation. It is a story written not in words but in rock, water, and life, where every chapter echoes through time and space. The dance of tectonic plates has been central to this story. These enormous slabs of Earth's lithosphere glide atop the semi-fluid mantle, colliding, sliding past, and pulling away from each other in a slow yet relentless motion. This movement has crafted continents, shaped oceans, and triggered events that have reshaped climates and life itself. Mountain ranges like the Himalayas are monuments to these colossal collisions, where Earth's crust buckled and soared skyward. Such upheavals influence atmospheric circulation, ocean currents, and even the cycles of carbon and nutrients. The breakup of supercontinents altered sea levels and climate patterns, opening new ecological niches and driving evolutionary innovation. Life has continually adapted to these changes, finding new forms and strategies in a dynamic world. Volcanism, intimately tied to tectonics, has played a dual role, destructive in its fury but creative in its renewal. Volcanic eruptions release gases that replenish the atmosphere, spew nutrients into the environment, and build new land masses. Over time, volcanic soils have nourished lush ecosystems and sustained human civilizations. The very air we breathe, owes much to these fiery processes. Meanwhile, Earth's climate has fluctuated dramatically. Ice ages, separated by warmer interglacial periods, have alternately covered vast regions with ice or allowed forests and grasslands to thrive. These shifts have influenced migration patterns, species distribution, and even human development. The planet's climate system is a complex interplay between the atmosphere, oceans, ice, and land, a system sensitive to subtle changes and capable of tipping into new states. The fossil record serves as a living archive, chronicling the rise and fall of species across geological time. From the Cambrian explosion, which saw a rapid diversification of life, to the mass extinctions that periodically reset the biological landscape, these records reveal resilience, vulnerability, and adaptation. Each extinction paved the way for new forms of life, underscoring the cycle of destruction and renewal. Among these cycles, the role of oceans remains paramount. They regulate temperature, absorb carbon dioxide, and harbor the majority of Earth's biodiversity. Coral reefs, often called the rainforests of the sea, are vital to marine life, but are vulnerable to warming and acidification. Protecting these ecosystems is essential for maintaining planetary health. In recent times, humanity's footprint has grown with unprecedented speed and scale. The Anthropocene, a proposed geological epoch, marks this era where human activities significantly influence Earth's systems. Urbanization, deforestation, pollution, and greenhouse gas emissions are reshaping landscapes, altering climates, and threatening biodiversity. Yet, within this challenge lies opportunity. Technological innovation, coupled with ecological understanding, offers paths toward sustainable coexistence. Renewable energy, conservation efforts, and restoration projects exemplify humanity's capacity to heal and protect. Indigenous knowledge systems honed over millennia emphasize balance and respect for nature. These traditions offer invaluable lessons in sustainable living and stewardship, reminding us that Earth is a living entity, to be honored rather than exploited. The future of our planet depends on our collective choices. By embracing the complexity and interconnectedness of Earth's systems, we can foster resilience and adaptability. This requires humility, wisdom, and an unwavering commitment to harmony with the natural world. In understanding Earth's origins and evolution, we recognize our role as both beneficiaries and guardians. Our survival and well-being are intertwined with the health of the planet. The story of Earth is not only about its past, but about the future we shape together. Let us move forward with gratitude for Earth's gifts, responsibility for its care, and hope for a thriving world where life, in all its forms, flourishes. In the grand saga of Earth's formation, the emergence of the atmosphere stands as a pivotal chapter, a veil of gases that envelopes the planet, shaping climate, protecting life, and enabling complex ecosystems to flourish. This atmosphere was not handed down fully formed. It evolved through intricate processes, intertwined with the geology and biology of the Earth itself. Initially, Earth's atmosphere was dominated by volcanic gases, carbon dioxide, water vapor, nitrogen, and trace amounts of other compounds, lacking free oxygen. This early air was inhospitable to most forms of life as we know them. However, the planet's oceans acted as vast chemical reactors, dissolving gases and fostering conditions ripe for the origin of life. Through the metabolic innovations of early microbes, particularly cyanobacteria, photosynthesis emerged, a biological process that converted sunlight into chemical energy, releasing oxygen as a byproduct. This transformative event, known as the Great Oxygenation Event, began over 2 billion years ago, gradually altering the atmospheric composition and enabling aerobic life. This oxygenation dramatically changed the planet. Oxygen, reactive and potent, led to the formation of the ozone layer, a shield in the upper atmosphere that blocks harmful ultraviolet radiation, making terrestrial life possible. The atmosphere thus became a dynamic interface, mediating energy exchange, weather patterns, and the cycles of carbon and water. Weather, driven by solar energy and Earth's rotation, shaped environments from deserts to rainforests. The water cycle circulated moisture through evaporation, condensation, and precipitation, nourishing ecosystems and influencing climate regimes. Storms, winds, and ocean currents are all parts of this complex atmospheric system, which operates on scales, from local to global. Humanity's impact on the atmosphere has been profound, especially since the Industrial Revolution. The burning of fossil fuels has introduced vast quantities of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases, trapping heat and disrupting climate stability. This warming influences weather extremes, ice melt, sea level rise, and ecosystems worldwide. Recognizing the atmosphere's vital role compels us to protect it, not as an abstract resource, but as the breath of life itself. Efforts to reduce emissions, enhance carbon sequestration, and restore natural systems are critical in mitigating climate change and preserving the balance that sustains life. The atmosphere's story is inseparable from Earth's larger narrative. It is a testament to the interconnectedness of life and planet, geology and biology, past and future. Understanding its origin deepens our appreciation for the fragile yet resilient envelope that wraps our world. In honoring the atmosphere's evolution, we embrace a vision of stewardship, a commitment to safeguard the invisible but essential layer that cradles us all. This is part of the ongoing story of Earth, a story that invites us to live consciously within the delicate systems that enable our existence. The tale of Earth's origins is vast and complex, yet it converges in the air we breathe, the water we drink, the soil beneath our feet. It calls us to recognize that we are not separate observers but active participants in a living planet's unfolding history. From the earliest dust of the cosmos to the blue skies above, from the molten core to the whispering winds, Earth's formation is a saga of transformation and renewal. It is a story that belongs to all who call this planet home, and it is one we continue to write with every breath, every choice, every step. Deep beneath our feet lies a realm often hidden from sight, yet fundamental to the life above, the Earth's mantle. This immense layer of hot, solid rock extends thousands of kilometers from the crust down to the core, shaping the planet's surface through slow but powerful movements. Though seemingly rigid, the mantle behaves like a viscous fluid over geological time, its slow convection currents driving the drift of continents and the cycling of materials. Within the mantle, heat from Earth's interior creates buoyant upwellings and cooler downwellings, akin to a gigantic subterranean ocean in constant motion. These convection cells propel tectonic plates in a slow but relentless rhythm, shaping the landscapes where mountains rise, earthquakes shake, and volcanoes breathe fire. This dynamic interior process has sculpted the Earth's surface for billions of years, creating the diversity of environments that support life. Volcanoes, the dramatic expressions of mantle processes, not only forge new land but also recycle vital nutrients. Their eruptions release gases that replenish the atmosphere and bring minerals to the surface, nurturing ecosystems. Some volcanoes form islands in the ocean, isolated laboratories of evolution where unique species emerge. Others create fertile soils that sustain agriculture and civilization. Mantle plumes, rising from deep within the Earth, punctuate this slow churning with bursts of intense activity. They have been responsible for some of the most significant geological events, including the formation of large igneous provinces, which have coincided with mass extinctions and climatic shifts. These deep Earth processes remind us that the planet's internal engine has far-reaching impacts beyond its depths. The solid inner core and liquid outer core below the mantle also play vital roles. Their movement generates Earth's magnetic field, a protective shield that deflects harmful solar radiation and preserves the atmosphere. This magnetic cocoon is essential for life as we know it, guiding migratory animals and safeguarding DNA from damage. The interactions between Earth's layers illustrate the planet's integrated nature. Changes deep inside ripple to the surface and beyond, influencing climate, ecosystems, and human societies. Understanding this complex internal World enhances our appreciation for Earth as a dynamic living system. Humanity's growing technological prowess offers new ways to study and interact with the mantle and core, from seismic imaging that reveals hidden structures to geothermal energy that taps the planet's heat. These advances hold promise for sustainable energy, but also remind us of our responsibility to respect the planet's delicate balances. The mantle's slow, persistent movement over time embodies Earth's essence, a planet in perpetual transformation, where destruction and creation coexist. It is a reminder that beneath the apparent stillness of the world lies a restless heart, powering the cycles of life and matter. In this profound, unseen realm, we find a metaphor for endurance and change, a narrative stretching back to the planet's fiery birth and extending into the future we shape. Our place on Earth is grounded not only in the surface we inhabit, but also in the deep, rhythmic pulse of its inner world. As we honor the mantle's role in Earth's story, we embrace a broader vision of connection to the planet's core, to the forces that shaped it, and to the life it sustains. This connection calls us to steward the Earth with reverence, awareness, and care, recognizing that our well-being is tied to the health of this living planet. The origins of Earth are a testament to resilience, complexity, and beauty. In the mantle's slow dance, we glimpse the profound processes that make life possible and find inspiration to nurture the world we call home. The journey of Earth's formation is also marked by the genesis and evolution of its oceans, vast blue expanses that cover over 70% of the planet's surface. These oceans are not merely bodies of water, but dynamic systems, integral to Earth's climate, chemistry, and life. The story of the seas begins in the earliest eons, when Earth cooled enough for water vapor to condense and accumulate, forming primordial oceans. These ancient waters were the cradle of life, a nurturing environment for the earliest organisms. The chemical interactions within these oceans created the conditions for complex organic molecules to form, and eventually gave rise to the first cells. Hydrothermal vents on the ocean floor provided energy and minerals, supporting rich ecosystems even in the absence of sunlight. Over billions of years, the oceans have been both a refuge and a force of change. They regulate temperature by absorbing solar heat and redistributing it via currents, influencing weather patterns and climates across the globe. The Great Ocean Conveyor Belt circulates water, carbon, and nutrients, sustaining marine ecosystems and connecting distant regions of the planet. Marine life has evolved in astonishing diversity, from microscopic plankton to the largest creatures ever known. Coral reefs, seagrass beds, and deep-sea vents form complex habitats that support vast arrays of species, each playing a role in the balance of oceanic ecosystems. The oceans also act as a major carbon sink, absorbing significant amounts of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and mitigating climate change. Yet, these vital systems face unprecedented threats. Pollution, overfishing, acidification, and warming seas jeopardize the health of marine environments. Coral bleaching events reveal the fragility of these ecosystems in the face of changing conditions. Protecting the oceans is not just an environmental concern, but a matter of sustaining the planet's life support system. Understanding the oceans' origins and functions deepens our respect for their role in Earth's story. They remind us that the planet is a unified whole, where water connects continents, climates, and species. Our survival depends on healthy oceans, and thus on our commitment to their stewardship. The vastness and mystery of the seas evoke both awe and responsibility. As we explore the depths, we uncover new species, geological formations, and insights into Earth's past. These discoveries inspire wonder and humility, emphasizing the interconnectedness of all life. Earth's oceans are a testament to the power of water as a transformative force, shaping the planet's surface, sustaining life, and influencing global systems. They are a reminder that our planet is a blue jewel in the cosmic darkness, a rare oasis of vitality and beauty. In honoring the oceans, we affirm our place within this living, breathing world. We recognize that protecting these waters is essential to maintaining the balance that has nurtured life for eons. The story of Earth's Formation is also the story of water's journey, from vapor to ocean to life-giving force. As custodians of this heritage, we are called to act with care, to preserve the vitality of the oceans for generations to come. The origins of Earth's seas teach us that life depends on harmony, on cycles of renewal, and on the deep connections that bind all living things. This understanding shapes a vision for the future, one in which humanity lives in balance with the waters that sustain us, honoring the ancient and ongoing story of our planet's most precious resource. The rich tapestry of Earth's history is deeply intertwined with the rhythms of time, marked by cycles of ice and warmth, calm and catastrophe. Among these, the Ice Ages stand out as dramatic episodes that shaped the planet's surface, climate, and life in profound ways. These periods, when vast glaciers advanced over continents, were not mere climatic aberrations but essential chapters in Earth's evolving narrative. Ice ages have occurred multiple times in Earth's past, triggered by complex interactions among the planet's orbit, atmospheric composition, and continental configurations. During these cold epochs, massive ice sheets sculpted landscapes, carving valleys, fjords, and plains through relentless erosion. They locked away immense volumes of water, causing sea levels to fall and altering ocean currents and habitats. The glaciers' advance and retreat profoundly influenced ecosystems. Species adapted to frigid conditions thrived, while others migrated, evolved, or faced extinction. These environmental pressures were catalysts for evolution, fostering resilience and diversity. Ice ages also shaped human history, influencing migration patterns and survival strategies. Glacial deposits left behind rich soils and fresh water sources, foundations for future ecosystems and human settlements. The retreat of ice freed vast tracts of land, allowing forests, grasslands, and wetlands to flourish. This cyclical pattern of freeze and thaw was a driver of change, renewal, and complexity in Earth's biosphere. Understanding ice ages enhances our appreciation for the planet's climate system's sensitivity and dynamism. It reveals how subtle shifts in energy balance can lead to dramatic transformations, reminding us of the delicate interplay between atmosphere, oceans, land, and life. Today, as human activities accelerate climate change, lessons from past ice ages are invaluable. They provide context for current warming trends and potential future scenarios, emphasizing the need for informed stewardship. The fossil and geological records serve as guides, showing the consequences of rapid shifts and the resilience of life. Ice ages teach us about endurance, adaptation, and the power of natural cycles. They highlight Earth's capacity for change and the interconnectedness of its systems. These frozen epochs are chapters in a story that continues to unfold, reminding us that the planet is a dynamic entity, shaped by forces beyond human control, but influenced by human choices. As we reflect on the origins of Earth and its climatic past, we recognize that stability is not permanence, but a balance maintained through ongoing change. The Ice Ages illustrate the planet's ability to regenerate and transform, offering hope that with wisdom and care, we too can foster a sustainable future. The story of Earth's ice ages is a testament to nature's power and fragility, a call to respect the planet's rhythms and to live in harmony with its cycles. It is a narrative that enriches our understanding of the world and our role within it, inspiring stewardship grounded in knowledge and reverence. Through the lens of Earth's frozen past, we glimpse the enduring spirit of a planet, alive with motion, change, and the endless dance of life. The story of Earth's origins is also a story of the elements, the fundamental building blocks from which everything is made. These elements, forged in the hearts of stars long before our planet existed, journeyed through space as cosmic dust and gas, eventually coming together to form the Earth. This cosmic heritage is written in every atom of our planet, linking us to the vast universe beyond. From hydrogen, the simplest and most abundant element, to heavier metals like iron and nickel, these materials coalesced in the swirling disk of the early solar system. The process of planetary differentiation sorted these elements according to density and chemical properties, creating the layered structure of core, mantle, and crust. The iron core, a dense and molten heart, formed early and remains crucial for generating Earth's magnetic field. This invisible shield protects the atmosphere and life from solar radiation, enabling a stable environment. Surrounding this core, the mantle and crust contain the diverse minerals and compounds that compose rocks, soils, oceans, and the atmosphere. Elements like carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, and phosphorus are fundamental to life's chemistry. Their cycles, moving through rocks, water, air, and living organisms, sustain ecosystems and drive biological processes. These biogeochemical cycles are integral to Earth's functioning, linking the geological and biological worlds. Human civilization is deeply tied to these elements. Metals like copper, gold, and aluminum have been mined and shaped into tools and technologies. Fossil fuels formed from ancient biological material have powered progress but also contributed to environmental challenges. Understanding the origins and movements of these elements helps us manage resources wisely. Moreover, the rarity and distribution of certain elements influence the planet's habitability and technological potential. For instance, the presence of water, a molecule of hydrogen and oxygen, is essential for life, climate regulation, and geological processes. Earth's elemental story is a testament to transformation and interconnectedness. The atoms in our bodies were once part of distant stars and now cycle through Earth's systems, embodying the continuity of matter and life. This cosmic perspective fosters a profound sense of belonging and responsibility. By appreciating Earth's elemental origins, we recognize that our planet is a unique and precious amalgamation of matter and energy, shaped over billions of years. This knowledge invites us to steward Earth's resources with care, respecting the delicate balances that sustain life. The elements are more than building blocks. They are the threads that weave together the planet's history, ecology, and humanity's future. They connect the microcosm of our existence to the macrocosm of the universe. In honoring this elemental heritage, we embrace a holistic vision of Earth, a planet alive with matter, energy, and life, continually evolving and renewing itself. The origins of Earth's elements remind us that we are part of a greater whole, custodians of a legacy that stretches across space and time. This awareness calls us to act with wisdom and humility, to protect and cherish the planet that gave rise to all that we are and all that we may become. The emergence of life on Earth is perhaps the most profound and awe-inspiring chapter in our planet's story, a transformation from inert matter to living, breathing ecosystems that would ultimately shape the world itself. This process, spanning billions of years, unfolded quietly at first in the depths of ancient oceans, then blossomed into the extraordinary diversity we witness today. Life's origins trace back to simple molecules that combined and recombined in Earth's primordial environment. These molecules, energized by volcanic activity, lightning, and ultraviolet radiation, formed increasingly complex structures, proteins, nucleic acids, and membranes that became the precursors to living cells. Though the exact pathway remains a subject of scientific inquiry, the earliest life forms were microscopic and simple, yet remarkably resilient. Microbial mats and stromatolites, fossilized remnants of these early communities, offer glimpses into a world dominated by single-celled organisms. These tiny architects transformed the planet through metabolic processes like photosynthesis, releasing oxygen and altering the atmosphere in what became the Great Oxygenation Event. This shift paved the way for more complex life, enabling the evolution of multicellular organisms. Over hundreds of millions of years, life diversified in an evolutionary dance driven by mutation, natural selection, and environmental change. The Cambrian explosion, around 540 million years ago, saw a rapid increase in animal complexity and diversity, introducing body plans and behaviors that formed the foundation of modern ecosystems. Plants colonized the land, stabilizing soils and creating habitats. Fungi and animals followed, establishing symbiotic relationships that enhanced survival and adaptation. Mass extinctions periodically reshaped the tree of life, pruning some branches while allowing others to flourish. The rise of vertebrates, including early mammals and ultimately humans, marks a significant milestone in Earth's biological history. Human beings, endowed with intelligence, culture, and technology, have had an unparalleled impact on the planet. Our ability to modify environments, harness energy, and communicate complex ideas shapes Earth's future as never before. Yet, this power carries responsibility. The same forces that allowed life to flourish also demand stewardship and respect. Biodiversity loss, habitat destruction, and climate change threaten the delicate balance that sustains life on Earth. By understanding the origins and evolution of life, we gain insight into resilience and vulnerability, innovation and interdependence. Life is not a static phenomenon, but a continuous, dynamic process of adaptation and renewal. This understanding invites us to live in harmony with the natural world, honoring the intricate web of connections that link all species, including ourselves. It challenges us to protect and nurture the planet's living legacy for future generations. Earth's story of life is a testament to creativity, complexity, and continuity. It is a narrative written in DNA, fossil, and ecosystem, a story that we are both part of and responsible for. As we reflect on this remarkable journey from molecules to minds, we celebrate the wonder of life and commit to preserving the vitality of our shared home. The origins of life remind us that we are woven into the fabric of Earth's history and destiny. This recognition inspires hope, action, and a profound sense of belonging to a living planet, forever unfolding in the cosmic dance of existence. The story of Earth's formation culminates in the extraordinary emergence of humanity, a species capable of reflection, creativity, and profound influence on the planet. Our journey, spanning millions of years, began with humble origins among primates, shaped by environmental challenges and evolutionary pressures that honed intelligence, cooperation, and adaptability. As humans developed tools, language, and culture, they transformed landscapes and ecosystems, harnessing fire, agriculture, and technology. This transformation accelerated through history, leading to civilizations that built cities, explored continents, and uncovered the laws of nature. Our curiosity unveiled the cosmos, revealing the origins of Earth, the Sun, and the vast universe. Yet, with great power comes great responsibility. The Anthropocene, the current epoch marked by human impact, reflects both the achievements and challenges of our species. Industrialization, urbanization, and resource consumption have altered the climate, depleted biodiversity, and reshaped Earth's surface. Understanding Earth's origins instills a sense of humility and stewardship. We are part of an intricate system, interconnected with all life and the planet itself. Our survival depends on respecting these relationships and fostering sustainable practices that honor Earth's cycles and capacities. The knowledge of Earth's formation, from cosmic dust to a living world, provides a foundation for wisdom. It inspires efforts to protect the atmosphere, conserve oceans, restore habitats, and mitigate climate change. It urges innovation grounded in respect for natural limits and the recognition that humanity's future is inseparable from the planet's health. Our story is one of continuity and change, embedded in the larger narrative of Earth's evolution. It calls us to be caretakers of this remarkable planet, honoring the legacy of the stars and the myriad forms of life that preceded us. In embracing this responsibility, we ensure that Earth remains a vibrant, life-sustaining home for all species. We carry forward the ancient story, enriched by knowledge and guided by hope, compassion, and resolve. The origins of Earth are not just a tale of rocks and gases, but a profound reminder of connection, resilience, and possibility. This story belongs to every one of us, a shared heritage and a collective destiny. As we stand on the threshold of the future, may we act with courage and care, forging a path that honors the wonders of our planet and the promise of life itself. The story of Earth's formation continues, alive in every breath, every heartbeat, and every choice we make.